When you go up, do you look down? Let me explain. Whether you're a flight simmer or a real-world pilot, have you got any idea what you're flying over? You've just gained the most amazing perspective on the world, and yet for many people they just gaze straight ahead. In the first of these special features, we're going to start looking down at things like this. Okay, here's the Thames estuary. The estuary is a great navigation feature as it leads straight into London here, but here's a taste of what you're missing if you just set course and go.
As you can see here, you can see the docks. If you're using VFR scenery on a flight sim, then you'll easily be able to see the big areas of water. Until about the 1950s, they were thriving with container ships bringing in products from around the world. And if you don't know much about Britain, then being an island, it's pretty obvious that the sea was very important. And it's down there and about 7 other docks around Britain that pretty much everything arrived into.
If you look to the right, you can see London. If you look left London and got this far, then you'd have been doing well. The area between London to my right and Gravesend to my left was notorious for highwaymen. Nearly 20 stagecoaches belted over the hills over there to try and get to Gravesend before they were asked to stand and deliver. Okay, let's head south now, and we're aiming for Brands Hatch Racing Circuit.
Okay, so we've made it to Brands Hatch Racing Circuit. There are race meetings pretty much every weekend down there in the summer. Can't see much down there at the moment. I don't think there is anything today, unfortunately. But the circuit is 2.3 miles long. But despite there being miles of open countryside around the circuit, the council planners decided to build a castle estate right next to the circuit, which I'm sure you can see just there. So as you can expect, now there are restrictions on the times engines can start and the layout of the track that can be used. But it even took us a little while to find it when we were up here flying, because as you can see there is a lot of trees around it, so it took us a while, but we did find it eventually. Well, we'll turn on to a new heading now, and we are heading towards Canterbury. You see that ridge of hills over there? Well, they call them the North Downs, and you may have read a book called The Canterbury Tales at school. Well, it was written by a guy called Chaucer 500 years ago. His characters set off from London behind us to Canterbury, which is where we're headed, and it took them a few days, but for us, it's only going to take a few minutes. But the end of the pilgrimage for Chaucer's pilgrims was Canterbury. They were heading here to pray at the shrine of Thomas A. Becket. Thomas actually had his head cut off, but in fact, to be precise, it was only the top of his head after upsetting the king at the time. Now, a couple of knights attacked him in the cathedral in 1170, so it wasn't that recently really. But apparently, after cutting off his head, they then stood on it to make sure the job was done, which is pretty gross. And you can see the building right down there, in fact. Okay, so now we've seen Canterbury, and I want us to head north, where I'm going to show you something pretty spectacular. Now, you may not actually be able to see this on camera, but the sea actually looks quite blue and nice.
Yeah, we don't want to land in it though, do we?
No, I wouldn't want to land in it, no. Okay, well, first we need to pass Whitstable, which has always been famous for its oysters, even back in Roman times. In fact, they have a 9-day festival based around it, and I would suspect you need a strong stomach for that, and also a couple of pints of Guinness. I like Guinness with my oysters. I don't know why, I just do.
Horrible food.
Oh, love them. Love them. But this is what we are actually looking for. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it just yet. Maybe if I zoom in a bit. Oh, no, not it. This is what we're heading for. It looks a bit like something out of Kevin Costner's Waterworld, doesn't it? In actual fact, they are old World War II aircraft guns, you can see there. They look pretty nifty, and that's only actually just one set. There's another set further behind the wind farm to my left as well. And I think we're going to try and do a nice low pass so we can get a good shot of them for you to see. Now, these were actually built during the Second World War to shoot at German bombers on their way to bomb London. They used to have walkways that connected the 7 towers, and they were built on by building on a large concrete barge, which was then sunk to provide the towers, and then the fort built on top of it. Look at them, they're amazing. You kind of expect Kevin Costner to be whizzing around them on a jet ski though. Well, that's the end of our grand tour of Kent and the Thames. We'll be putting all of the details on the website very soon, so you can recreate your own flight or just do it in a flight sim.